CBS News Bay Area Afternoon Edition with Ann Makovic.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Ryan Yamamoto in for Ann. We begin with developing news in Minnesota. The man accused of shooting two Democratic lawmakers and their spouses has been charged with federal murder and stalking offenses. 57-year-old Vance Bolter appeared in court less than an hour ago. He was arrested last night after a two-day manhunt. A tip led officers to a field outside of Minneapolis where he gave himself up. Bolter is accused of shooting and killing State Representative Melissa Horton and her husband Mark in their home on Saturday. In addition to the federal charges, he's also charged with attempted murder and the shootings of State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette. Both are now recovering from their injuries.
Well, it's pretty clear from the evidence that he's been planning these attacks for quite some time. There's voluminous writings, as you've seen in the reporting, that were found both in his car and his house about his planning, lists of names and individuals. In terms of the why, it's unclear.
No official motive has been determined yet, but Governor Tim Walz is calling it a politically motivated assassination. The list of names found included Democrats and pro-choice supporters. Local lawmakers joined immigration rights activists to unveil the No Secret Police Act. It bans law enforcement of all levels from covering their face while conducting operations in California. State Senator Scott Wiener says it's in response to President Trump's increased immigration crackdown. We have seen reports, including here in the Bay Area, of federal agents wearing masks and not identifying themselves during operations.
People are afraid. Families are being torn apart. And it's important that people that are engaged in any sort of law enforcement activity, whether state, whether it's county, or whether it's federal, that there's full transparency in terms of what's happening.
The bill has exceptions, including medical masks and SWAT situations. Demonstrations against the Trump administration and its immigration enforcement brought out huge crowds all across the Bay Area and across the country this weekend. Among the cities, Palo Alto, Walnut Creek, San Rafael, and people chanted and held up signs. Those protests were mostly peaceful nationwide, but tensions did remain high in Los Angeles. This as federal immigration agents made more arrests. President Trump deployed the National Guard and Marines there last week. LA Mayor Karen Bass continues to say that is unnecessary.
They don't need to be here. Our local law enforcement have complete control of this situation.
Do policing. Military.
President Trump says he's telling ICE to ramp up deportation efforts in major Democratic cities, including Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York. Federal raids are causing fear in the immigrant community. We met one woman living in San Francisco who's already been granted asylum, but like many, is waiting for permanent residency. She says she does not know when she'll feel safe again to work. Veronica Macias shares her story.
After 5 years of being in the U.S. and being granted asylum, this mother of two is anxiously waiting her turn to apply for a green card. However, Valeria, who's using a pseudonym, must again sit and wait. Valeria fled from Honduras, where her children's father abused and had threatened to kill her. While seeking asylum at the border, her ex found her. She's lucky to have survived his gruesome knife attack and was given asylum when she recovered.
I remembered that I cried to the immigration officials. I told them to let me stay because the father of my children is waiting for me on the other side, and he told me he was going to kill me. And they said, no, that is not valid here.
It was life on this side of the border where she hoped that she could provide more for her children. Her hope carried her through a dangerous journey up north, risking their lives on Mexico's deadly freight train, known as La Bestia.
We walked for miles from the border of Guatemala to the border of Mexico with my children. It was raining. We went through the jungle. It was dangerous, very dangerous because of all the animals. There were animals, thieves, people are kidnapping out there.
Being in this state of limbo is simply agonizing for her. Seeing the raids and deportations makes her feel very uneasy.
So currently it's a matter of just waiting to see how the Trump administration decides to process these applications by asylees for adjustment of status.
Valeria has status protection thanks to her attorney, who heard her case at an immigration court and took interest.
For me, I believe it was a great decision. It was great to work with Valeria because of her courage, despite everything that she has gone through.
These families who demonstrated on the steps of City Hall for a day of immigrant families are currently faced with the hard decision of complying with the federal government's registry requirement. Many of them fearing they'll be deported when they show up.
Make an appointment, speak to an attorney in a confidential area where you can share your story, you can share the information about your family, and get advice that's specific to you.
As ICE agents appear to be detaining more people, Valeria is hoping the administration lifts the temporary pause on green card applications. Until then, life is a little quiet for her and her boys.
Okay, first alert weather right now as we give a live look outside. You can see the shot of downtown San Francisco, Grace Cathedral, and the Golden Gate Bridge. You can actually see it right now. Meteorologist Jessica Birch is looking toward a bit of a warm-up. Jess, it's nice and clear outside.
It's nice and clear, and we're gearing up for more clear weather in our Tuesday forecast. By Wednesday, the clouds return once again, but let's start off with what's happening for us today. Heading into the afternoon hours today, our coastal areas like Half Moon Bay, for example, are still holding on tight to 50s, while the rest of our inland areas are warming up significantly. I mean, we're talking about upper 80s today in Antioch, low 80s all the way up into Santa Rosa. We have 70s widespread throughout wine country, 70s down into the Santa Clara Valley. Now, we do have that onshore breeze that's starting to kick up a lot more, so if you live along our coastal areas, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'll show you it in just a second. Today and tomorrow, though, we're going to be dealing with clear skies, not only along our coastline, but everywhere throughout the Bay Area. It's Wednesday morning where the clouds start rolling back in from offshore. We can see some light drizzle along the coast, mostly just misty conditions, though, in those early morning hours. But before we get to our Wednesday forecast, let's take a look at today. Wind speeds already up to around 27 to 30 miles per hour in areas like Bodega Bay and San Francisco. We're also seeing those winds strengthen into the evening hours tonight. This is just around 5 o'clock. I'll have more on what you can expect as we head into the rest of this work week coming up in just a bit. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Jess. Well, President Trump is attending the G7 gathering of some of the world's largest economies this week in Canada. But escalating tensions between Israel and Iran and on the death toll of both sides continues to grow are weighing heavily on the summit. This morning, Trump met with Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney. World leaders there are hoping for de-escalation in that conflict between Israel and Iran, now in its fourth day.
It's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war. And they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
An Iranian missile attack overnight damaged a synagogue in central Israel and a school building. Residential buildings were also hit. The U.S. consulate suffered some minor damage and remains closed as a precaution. In Iran, thousands are fleeing Tehran. And powerful new video shows the moment Iran State TV says its broadcast was interrupted by missile fire by Israel on Monday. The health ministry reports more than 200 killed in Israeli military strikes so far. And a check on Wall Street right now, and you can see the Dow is now heading in positive territory, at least for most of the day. Right now, it's up 271 points, with some investors betting that the Israel-Iran conflict will be contained.